Hello and welcome back to another episode on the LooneyCraft server. As you can see behind me, we have finally filled in the space for the castle, so we're able to start building that. But before we do that, I do have a thing I do want to work on that we haven't touched even longer than the library, and that is the bridge and the dock, which I'm going to add a little bit of story to it. So here we go. This is the story about a pirate and his bird. To say that my first few years as an abomination of feathers and beak were quite freeing would be a lie. They were a dreadful time, as most people found a walking, talking owl to be quite the strange occurrence, and therefore avoided me altogether. The ones who did interact with me were cold, cruel, and in every sense of the word, evil. By the time I had gotten used to the harassment, I was a lowly beggar squatting at the docks, hoping that someone just coming into town and not knowing of my oddity would take pity on me and at the least offer me coin or food to last me until the next day. That's when he showed up. Being chased by the city guard was a strange man in a straw hat. He practically was teasing them as he laughed through the crowd and dodged the swinging of swords. It's worth mentioning that the guards were probably the worst of the cruel interactions I had. So while everything I had grown up learning about being a decent person with honor and respect was pretty much thrown out the window at this point. Which is why, as they passed my mat, I didn't feel all too bad about sticking my talon out and tripping a few of them as they passed. Don't judge. You'd do the same. They didn't take too kindly of my interference. The ones who fell quickly got up and the sharp end of their swords pressed against my neck. I was certain I was a goner, but fate, luck, chance, whatever you want to call it, seemed to have a different plan. You do unto others what you want to do unto you, or something like that. The straw hat wearing man jumped in, literally, pouncing on the guards with his feet, and with that my fighting instinct kicked in. Standing back to back, we began to brawl the city guard until one by one each of them laid on the ground. The excitement also had me on my back by the end of it. There was definitely no turning back from this moment. I think he knew that too. He stretched his hands out to me and said, "Join me and my crew," and the rest was history. I was no longer a knight. I was now a pirate.
Hi, buddy.
Hey! What you up to?
Well, I think it's time.
Time for what?
Oh, no, it's time.
Nope.
It's time.
Nope.
It's over for you. It's over.
What do you mean it's over for me?
This whole world. It's time to tear it down. It's time to tear it down. It's time.
Buddy, what are you doing?
It's
Calm
time.
down. Calm down.
It's over for you.
Not over for me, it's over for you, and I don't know who you are.
No,
What are you
sir.
doing?
You're dead.
Well, that didn't go accordingly. Okay, so if it isn't apparent, Straw and I are not actors. So I should probably explain because this might not make any sense. So Straw was the original traitor, the one who put the first signs on my base, also the one who put the dirt all over my base. I'm gonna get some more revenge someday for that. That took 3 hours to clear out. But yeah, he came to me and he's like, hey, so I was the original traitor, but what he was not was anything to do with the Neve Oracle storyline. In fact, he was pretty much confused on it as much as I was when it first started. And so he's like, I think I need to bring my little arc to a close. And that way we can kind of focus more on this other storyline that we have no idea who created. We have no idea where it's going. Whoever made it, honestly, in my opinion, is a genius. So yeah, he decided we would kind of more continue with that storyline than to worry about this other traitor storyline. And so he said, we're going to end in a fight. I was supposed to win the fight, but I am not a PvP person. So obviously I died, but ironically he died by the remaining fire on him. But yeah, that's kind of part of why everything kind of changed today. It was originally, I had a whole other plans for today's episode, but when he said he wanted to do this, I said, okay, I guess we need to get started on the dock. Now, obviously this is not done. This area here will be kind of like a little trading area, but I kind of want to build up more, especially because I want it to lead up to that little path that we just walked down. And I also think I might build a really cool ship in the water. I haven't done one in years. It wasn't great the first time I did it, but I'm willing to take another shot at it because I think it would look really nice out here. Now, continuing today, I want to work a little bit on the castle area. Like I said at the beginning, we have now filled in the, this square. And so I want to start kind of planning out where that's going. And I also have some other things I want to talk about, as like I said, we want to continue this sort of storyline with the Oracle and Neve. But before we do that, I want to figure out where things are going to go out here. Now, as you can see, there's a huge gap here. I'm thinking about putting a lake in this gap and then it go into a waterfall that kind of falls behind our little walkway going down. And that's also going to include a lot of terraforming, because obviously we don't want to just be on one large square block. That doesn't look nice. But yeah, so let me go ahead, gather some materials, and then we will kind of plot out some of this land, and I've got to chop down some trees. Okay, quick little side tangent before we begin on the castle. So we haven't covered mods in a while, and I did want to cover one of the things that came with the crayfish furniture mod, and that's this recycling bin. And as you can see, I have a chest and a hopper connected to it. That's because I'm too lazy to keep filling it up, but basically you can put items in here and they recycle and get turned into experience points. Now I had an entire thing, another netherrack, and yeah, that's all this gave me. And I mean, it was an entire inventory full. So it does take a lot to get the experience points, so it's not some quick cheap way of gaining it, but this allows us to recycle items that we don't use. I don't use netherrack in my builds, and I tend to get a lot when I go in the nether, because I don't go out in the open. I tend to dig holes, and I mean, this also goes well with my dirt, and especially, actually we're going to come back up this way, it goes especially well with the fact that the iron farm not only collects iron, but it collects a massive amount of poppy. And yeah, that's filling that up more sometimes than the actual iron is. So to clear that out, we just take that, throw in the recycling bin, and get the experience points out of it. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started on this castle. Okay, so starting off, I actually am not going to work on the main room, which is going to be the grand hall. I actually want to place out the sort of side room to it, as it's going to connect, or I'm going to attempt to connect it to the storage system. So the idea is that it will basically be like the sort of servant's kitchen and everything, in which all the supplies would be in there, and you'd have like your cooking stations and such. And because it is that kind of room, I want it to actually have a staircase that goes down into the storage system so we can access it. Now obviously the storage system is way over there right now, and the idea is to eventually expand it all the way out here, which means making more chests, making kind of a better organization. And I think we might touch that in an episode here soon. I'm not going to say it's next episode, as honestly I don't know what's in store for next episode at this point. It seems like every time I make plans, that's when the story starts building up. So I'm not going to say we're doing that next episode. That's all I'm going to say now. But yeah, so I want this to, it's probably going to end up being taller. I'm down to 37 like this is the last of my fireworks, so I can't fly as much, unfortunately, so I'm not going to jump up here. It will be taller. I do want to build this into a quote-unquote mega base, which I've never done before, so some scaling might have to change. But I know it's got to be a pretty large room, as like I said, we're going to put a kitchen in there. It's also going to be kind of like your broom closet and everything else, because it is definitely, like I said, the servants' sort of quarters of supplies and all that. But I don't want it to be too big, as I don't want it to take up the space for the Great Hall. So this is maybe a little bigger. Okay, so essentially like this. I do think this will, like, I even, when I cut the recording, I did go one more up, but I do think it's going to end up going a little higher. Now, I do want to say, I'm not going to map out the walls of the castle, but there will be a wall with a sort of walkway that goes around the entire thing, except for obviously where the buildings are. And I don't know how tall they're going to be. I think they might actually end up being this tall, and then the rest of the buildings will go a little above it. But yeah, so that does give us a decent amount of space left to do the Great Hall. I think the Great Hall is going to end up going out to about here. And then what we'll do is I'll actually build a sort of another building that goes here, which will be sort of a living quarters. And that's essentially, in reality, going to be more space for if people come by, they can stay inside the castle instead of living in like the bed and breakfast. Now, obviously, the bed and breakfast is also a option for people to stay in, and I kind of feel like it's a great option for when we go from the Nether to here. You and I will probably end up staying in it at times, but for our main base area that's here, this will be a nice, good living space. So let me go ahead and let's try to make a sort of square, and we're probably going to end up editing a little bit of it as we go. But this will essentially be a Great Hall instead of a throne room, because I feel like a lot of people misunderstand this. Throne rooms are usually for kings and queens in palaces. This is a castle. It's a bit of a difference, and it always bothered me that people always use them kind of interchangeably. This is a castle, not a palace. Okay, so this would be the size of the Great Hall. Now, I'll be completely honest, I have not counted any of this stuff out. If any of this shows up in evens, it's gonna get changed. I'm gonna try to work better in odds, as odds are a lot easier to build with. But so yeah, essentially this would be the Great Hall, and then next to it we would have a door that goes into the servants sort of room, so that they can make the food, bring out the food to the main hall, which there will be tables in here. Again, it's not a throne room. Now, obviously the Lord, or whatever you want to call it, depending on what your sort of role is, I guess, would have a seat at the front of it, but it's not a throne room. It is very much a place for people to all be eating and kind of gathering together. So that would be this room, and then next to it, what I want to do, which I don't need as much space, so I think not even as long as the servants room, because I kind of want this to be more square. I want to do a sort of inside outside kind of training room. Let's move this over one, but so it'd be kind of have columns going through here so you can see the outside, but yeah, it would be like kind of just an open space with a roof above it, so there's going to be like rooms above it, which, by the way, this is not the entire height of the castle. This is just the height of the great room. I think I'll end up giving a little bit of a gap, so we have like sort of a balcony, but then this will go up even more. I gotta still plan that out. We're kind of just working on the first floor today, but yeah, so this would be, hold on. Come on. Come on. If I don't kill him now, he's gonna end up coming back at the first time. I just know it. Where'd you go? There's a good chance he's underneath us. This is completely hollow. Okay, yeah, I think he's underneath us, and for now I'm just gonna leave it alone. We'll see if he comes and attacks. But yeah, so this will be the trading room, which we'll just go ahead and mark this out, and then we'll kind of mark out some other areas, and I'll jump into a quick time lapse to make the sort of squares. Next to it is going to be a sort of, I guess, kind of official office spaces. So like you'll have my office, which we tend to build a lot of offices, but I think the first floor actually, like we'll put the offices on the second floor, but the first floor I think will be a nice library, and I don't want these to be even, so let's go out a little bit, and so we'll say this is the space for the library, and then I want to sort of make it a little thinner, so we'll come in a little bit, and then this will be the barracks, because like I said, this is a castle, and so you have your soldiers that would actually stay in it, and the barracks we want to make a little bigger like this, and that way we have their living quarters but also like their armory and such right here. I think that is going to do it for the size of what the first floor will involve. So let me go ahead, fill in the little gaps, and we'll see what this looks like. Okay, so this is essentially only first floors. Now, obviously, this goes up the same height as the hall does. This will be the library. It is one large room, but I have the idea of doing like a balcony on where the second floor would go. And then we'll have like, more books up here. It just makes it look a little more grand. But I'm going to leave this as what it is today. Like I said, we're not working on building the actual castle, just kind of planning it out. Now, I do know I also want to add some towers that go on both ends of the wall. We have to do a really nice, great entry, which is going to go down the middle, kind of like your traditional look and everything, which leads us to this. Oh man, this is going to be a very long process, but my plan now is to actually tear a lot of this hill down. Now it doesn't affect our little hold on, gotta eat, which is fine because the way to get back. It doesn't affect this because this is actually going to be lower than the rest of it and everything, but it will keep this, but everything above it will go away because I want to still work on turning this village into a more larger design, kind of match up with the rest of the city that we have so far. And so yeah, it will pretty much be right here, and we'll build up from here. So I think y'all realize we haven't really touched our villagers in a while, and I haven't really gone and messed with this one either, which is something I need to do for the library. But I do want to build almost like specific places for the villagers. Only one problem is, yeah, my breeding villagers died somehow, I think. No, wait, hold on. Never mind. They're just under there. Okay, that's good. But yeah, so everything is gonna slowly get upgraded, especially this thing. I gotta fix it. Hold on. But yeah, so everything is going to get upgraded down here to kind of match this aesthetic and kind of enclose it a little more. It means I gotta redo the mailroom. This is actually gonna end up being taller. I had a thought, like obviously we kind of based this off a hobbit hole, but I wanted the height of it to go a little taller, and instead of just, okay, hold on, I gotta sleep. Okay, so yeah, monsters are the worst when it comes to filming because they like to interrupt you the most. But yeah, I want to build a sort of, like it'll be in the mound first, and then in the middle of this I kind of want to make it taller and have like maybe like a little tower coming out of the top of it, just again so that we kind of match the aesthetic of the heights of everything. And then as we go up this kind of hill now, not necessarily a mountain, everything will go up to this layer, in which this will be very much focused on villagers and like them living places, whatever. And then we will tear the rest of this dirt and stone down that's above it, which is not going to be a fun process, but it needs to be done. But yeah, so I have another thing though that I wanted to talk about today. So as you know, we had that sort of secret room, and I have repurposed it. And so let me give you an introduction. Welcome to the Gilded Quill, where your wit is your greatest ally. Leave your blades at the door. Here, we settle our debts with a different kind of edge. Warm yourself by the fire in our sitting room. It's the last bit of comfort you'll find before the real work begins. If you're looking to forget the chaos of this world, the main hall is yours. Grab a drink at the bar, find a table, or lose yourself to the rhythm on the dance floor. But for those who live for the thrill of risk, follow the clinking of coins to the gambling den. Stone, shears, and paper are all that stands between you and a fortune, or a very long walk home. And finally, for the curious and the brave, we have the gallery. Look, but do not touch. Here lies the trophies of our history, the sword of Burke and the traitor's pickaxe, reminders of what happens when loyalty wavers. Beside them are our most prized possessions, the secret books. In the Gilded Quill, every story has a price. What's yours? Yeah, so welcome to the Gilded Quill. Now, I kind of wanted to go through this little bit outside of the little, I suppose, trailer we made. Partially because, as you kind of saw, some of the pictures don't really show up in our flashback mod. But we have a couple, we have the people on the server on here. So you got Coma, you have Diversa, Straw, Squatch over here. I'll be very honest, these are AI generated pictures based off of the Minecraft skins. Obviously, like, this one is based off of Straw's profile picture, as is Watchdogs over here. And I'm not gonna lie, this is probably the funniest one to me. I asked them to take Coma's profile picture, throw it onto his Minecraft skin, because they do look a little different. And this is what we got, and I love this. This is too funny. But yeah, and then you got Squatch and B over here. But yeah, so the other thing is, as you can kind of tell, we don't actually have the books in place yet. There is some behind the scenes stuff that's being done in the background that we're not going to talk about yet. But yeah, so the books will eventually go here. And what are the books, you might be asking? They are, as it said, they are secrets. So the admission to the Gilded Quill is you have to give a secret of value. If you break the rules of the quill, and kind of jump in between, by the way, of calling it the quill and the Gilded Quill, but you know, just, yeah. If you break that rule, then your secret is revealed, which also includes for y'all. You will not know what these secrets are until one of these people betray us. And also, I do believe we will add more to this wall. And I also realized that I didn't really explain earlier, when Straw died as the traitor, I burned his armor, but I did keep the notched pickaxe as a sort of trophy. And then if we go over here, you can't really, I mean, you can spend, the hours making 52 cards to play like card games and whatnot. I decided not to spend all that time doing that. So we have rock, paper, scissors in the form of a sort of betting game. And so you'd come in here, you'd put your name down as player 1, 2, 3, or 4. It's up to 4 players, obviously. And I got to add another chest in here, but basically, each row would end up being the player's hands that they win. So you play around, and if you win that round, then you place all the pieces for that round in here. Player that has the most pieces at the end is the winner. Oh, also you place your bet in there. That is entirely up to whoever's playing of how much they want to bet. But yeah, so this is the Gilded Quill. Now you're probably wondering why make this? Well, this is sort of my way to intervene into the story. So obviously I will begin to know some secrets that will not be revealed, but it will help kind of with the investigation of the story, along with kind of keeping the story going. And so that is part of why we're doing this. But there will be some more things to be revealed later, but not today. So you may have caught in the last clip, but Watchdog came by and he did give us the flow armor trim and a breeze rod, just one, which kind of is going to be what we're going to do next episode. Is I am going to finally take on a trial chamber. I've never done one before, so this will be very interesting. But for now, I did want to show you that we did finally furnish the inside of the bed and breakfast. Even downstairs has a little bar, or not really bar. Again, this is more like a, I suppose more of a cafe. And also I finally got a cat, so say hi to Jake. But yeah, so the other thing, I did a lot of things in the background before filming this episode, because those were going to be things I was going to do this episode, and just ended up not doing those. And one of those things is the library is finally got walls in it. Now obviously you can tell it's still got a lot of work to do. Pretty sure that was Enderman. But I am working on this in the background a little bit, and this will eventually get done. Like I said, I gotta work with the villagers a little more and move them, which is going to be a pain. But yeah, so the library has some stuff done to it. Like you saw at the beginning of the video, we cleared out the castle area, and yeah, but that is unfortunately going to do us for the day. I gotta edit this video and get it out for you, and I hope you have enjoyed it. I don't normally do this, but feel free to like and subscribe and ring that notification bell. I know I do a little outro at the end, but I don't really ever say it. But if you enjoy these episodes, I'd really appreciate it. It helps me know which ones to kind of focus more on and whatnot. But thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.